Earlier this month, I was sitting on my couch, drinking my morning coffee, and scrolling on my iPad. My feed was flooded with MS Awareness Month posts and articles and blogs and videos. It initially made me squirm and feel really uncomfortable. I never wanted to be part of this club, and on that particular day, I just wanted to go back to bed and pull up the covers and pretend MS didn't exist. Pretend that I didn't have this disease. Does this happen to you? Do you ever just say, not today. Today I won't have it? Unfortunately, we do have it, and there's no hiding from it. As I was looking at all these posts and articles and blogs and videos, I wondered if I should do an MS Awareness Month video. I decided that I would like to do one, but this is not going to be your typical MS awareness video that's filled with the numbers of people with MS and the kinds of treatments or how we really need to raise money for research. No, not that at all. There's plenty of that out there already. I'm going to share some of the realizations about living with MS that I've experienced in almost 2 decades of living with it. These are things that I've become aware of, my own spin on MS awareness. When I was diagnosed, my heart stopped, my hearing stopped, and my brain stopped. Even though I was expecting the diagnosis, it was still really hard to hear it from the doctor. What I do remember is the positions of the chairs in the exam room. My husband and I were sitting in the 2 chairs, but they weren't right next to each other. My instinct was to reach out and grab his hand, but I couldn't quite reach him. My doctor was talking and talking, but I wasn't really hearing her. I was nodding and I was asking questions, but I really don't remember what was said other than MS is a progressive, degenerative, incurable disease. In the weeks that followed, I, of course, started looking into what exactly I was in for, what the treatments were, and what the prognosis was. Over and over, I kept seeing these words, progressive, degenerative, and incurable. And I bought into it. I thought that I would continue to get worse and that I would never ever get better and that my health would only decline. Over the years, I've had a shift in my thinking. I've learned to believe the diagnosis, but not the prognosis. There are things that we can do to live well with it. There are over 20 disease-modifying therapies to help slow it down. There are dietary changes we can make to help support our health. Exercising can help us to stay mobile or regain mobility. Getting good sleep can help support central nervous system health, and practicing mindfulness can reduce stress. And that can help reduce the stress hormones that affect our symptoms and possibly relapses. So this is the first realization. Living with MS doesn't have to be all downhill. There are things that we can do to support our health and well-being. There are things that we can do to improve. Another thing that's changed for me over the years is that using mobility aids is not as scary as it used to be. When I think back to when I was diagnosed, I remember being so scared that I would end up in a wheelchair. This was the biggest, scariest vision of my future. Did this happen to any of you? Let me know in the comments below. I was so afraid of being miserable and missing out on life if I became confined to a wheelchair. I've changed my mind on this. Mobility aids are just that. They're aids. We use them to help us. If our bodies do become disabled from MS or another reason, mobility aids can help us to remain active and participate in life. I've seen and met so many people over the years that are doing amazing things with their mobility aids. They participate in sports, they travel, or they do everyday things like take care of their families or hang out with their friends. Without the aids, we may become confined to our bed or confined to our homes, missing out on life. So that's realization number 2. Mobility aids are not that scary. They're tools that we can use to help us participate fully in life. Another thing that I've become aware of over the years is the diversity of mobility aids out there. There are some very cool canes and walking sticks. These are not our grandfather's canes. They can be works of art, or they come in unique colors or designs to match our personalities. I would dare say that they could become stylish accessories. I sometimes say that we live in amazing times. There's so much innovation and research going on to help us. There are so many different kinds of mobility aids that come in so many different designs, from upright walkers to stylish rollators or to scooters. There are innovative chairs like the Zine that's more upright and at a height where we can interact on the same level as everyone else. And there are devices that use electrical stimulation to improve our mobility, like the BNS products that improve our stride and foot drop and reduce walking-related fatigue. Or the Psionic Neuro Sleeve that works on multiple muscle groups and helps our legs move better. It may even help us to improve our ability over time. I am definitely more aware of the huge diversity of products out there that can help us. Another thing that was really troubling me after my diagnosis was I was worried about becoming a burden to my family. I didn't want to become a burden. I didn't want them to have to take care of me or miss out on things because of me. I was really struggling with this one. Did you or do any of you still struggle with this? Let me know in the comments. This one took time, work with my therapist, and a huge shift in perspective. There are times where my symptoms get in the way of life in general or affect my family, but I no longer take ownership of it. It's not me, it's MS. I am not the burden. MS is the burden. Everyone I love is sharing its challenges with me. If you would like a free download of this graphic to use on your computer, desktop, or mobile device as a reminder for you, please see the link below. The next thing that I've become aware of over the years is that everyone has something. 6 out of 10 adults in the U.S. now live with chronic illness. Even though MS is sometimes called a snowflake disease because we all have it differently, I know that I am not a special snowflake. There are millions, if not billions, of people out there that have something. It may be heart disease or diabetes or cancer or other autoimmune diseases or something else. And if someone doesn't have chronic illness themselves, they almost certainly love someone who has a chronic illness. I have become much more aware that everyone has something that they're dealing with or loves someone who is dealing with something. It's giving me some perspective. Everyone has something. Mine just happens to be MS. I also want to touch on neuroplasticity. Going back to when I was first diagnosed, I thought that once we had damage to our brains or became disabled, that was it. We had these scars or disabilities and we were stuck with them. That's not the case. I've really learned a lot about neuroplasticity and how we can overcome some of the damage done to our nerves. Our brain can adapt and reorganize itself to compensate for this damage caused by the disease. It can work around the damage. It can rewire. I'm sure you've heard of people learning to walk again or regain function. And don't ever doubt your ability to get better. My MS awareness has evolved over the years, and I'm sure it will continue to evolve. What I know for sure is that I can live well with it, that I have more control over my health than I first thought. And most importantly, I now know that no matter what is to come, I'll be okay. Everything may not be all right, but I will be okay. I no longer look at MS as a progressive, degenerative, incurable disease. For me, it's a condition that I live with, a condition that I live well with. Even so, it is well. If you would like to receive more information on living well with chronic illness, including yummy whole food plant-based recipes, be sure to sign up for my newsletter using the link in the comments and in the description below. To see more on living well with MS or chronic illness, watch these videos next. And until next time, be well.